You're about to experience a message from here at South Lake Church where we
engage, grow, and share.
So make sure to subscribe below and keep watching together as we engage, grow, share Jesus in our community relationships. Well, hey everybody, Pastor Rob here for another daily devotion from South Lake Church. And there's a lot of news going on, a lot of posts are happening because here at South Lake Church, we are in a stay-at-home order, which means there's a lot going on. And so as we just come together, and again, we live out our spiritual disciplines, in this case this week, worship, we look at different scriptures and things that we can be reading and understanding how do we worship our God. Now a reminder, please stay tuned by subscribing, liking, following us on Facebook. This is our Facebook page right here. So if you search Engage, Grow, Share, it's a great way to find us, to know when these live videos are happening, but also to share with others, your neighbors, your friends, your family. And of course, as we're taking pictures, people are sharing all different things that are happening. Follow us on Instagram. This is a great way to stay in touch with all that's happening. And of course, last but not least, southlakelc.org. You can find us on the web, learn more about who South Lake is, and stay up to date with all that's happening. So this week, we've been talking about worship, the spiritual discipline of what does it mean to put God above all, give him honor, devotion, respect. And we see throughout Scripture there's different ways this happens. And one of the way that Scripture talks about this and shows this is the fact there's different people who worship God. In this case, there's the Jewish people. This is the nation of God, God's people. And there's also another group called the Samaritans. And we're about to read here from John chapter 4 about the interaction Jesus has with the Samaritans. So who are they? Well, the Samaritans are a group of people who live in northern Israel. See, what happened was God's people split into half in between the southern kingdom called Judah and the higher kingdom or northern kingdom called Israel. And the Assyrian Empire came in and wiped out the northern kingdom, Israel, and actually took those people out into exile. But when the Assyrians did that, they brought other peoples, cultures, into the northern part of Israel to inhabit it. And as they lived there, one of the mandates was, this was the God who lived here. These are the cultures and customs of those people, so you too will adapt them. So now you have a mixture of a small percentage still of Jewish people and all these other cultures that are now brought in, all looking to worship this God called Yahweh. And they follow and read these different books, but again, these people are not Jewish blood. And when God's people return from their exile from Judah back from Babylon, there's conflict because you've got Jewish people coming back to their homeland, but you got this other group of people that are not of full Jewish descent, still kind of worshiping the same God, but different understanding. In the time of Jesus, this is even more stark of a contrast. So as we look to John chapter 4, we see a little bit more of that interaction, the feelings behind that. So please join me. So here we are looking at our YouVersion app. Here at South Lake, we use the YouVersion app to follow along. This is from John chapter 4. And we're going to read at verse 19. Again, the story of the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman, it's a much longer story. We're going to focus starting at verse 19. Sir, the woman said, speaking to Jesus, you must be a prophet. So tell me, why is it that you Jews insist that Jerusalem is the only place for worship, while we Samaritans claim here that Mount Gerizim, where our ancestors worshipped? There's a lot of information here. See, the Samaritan woman is calling out Jesus for being a Jewish man, talking to her like that normally doesn't happen. But then she calls out for the Jewish people. They insist the place where you worship God, Yahweh, is at Mount of Jerusalem. And any other place of worship is either invalid or wrong. Now for the Samaritans in the northern part now, since they're not really welcome to be in Jerusalem, to worship there, because again, they're not full Jewish blood, they worship at Mount Gerizim, which other people had created a place of worship. And throughout Scripture, there's one high place, one place of worship. So she's calling out that her culture and Jesus' Jewish culture have two understandings of places of worship. So this is how Jesus responds with her calling out this issue, this dichotomy here. Jesus replied, "Believe me, dear woman, the time is coming when we no longer matter whether we worship the Father on this mountain or in Jerusalem. You Samaritans know very little about the one you worship, while the Jews know all about him, for salvation comes through the Jews. So what's Jesus saying here? Well, he's calling out what I shared a few moments ago, that the Samaritan people are a mixture of different cultures and people that were brought in. Some of them mixed with the Jewish people, and they were told that this is the faith, the religion of the area. They didn't grow up Jewish with this understanding. So Jesus is calling out for the Jewish people who've had this for hundreds and hundreds of years. Well, for the Samaritan people, you're talking maybe less than 500 years. And since there's a separation between the faiths, it just makes it more complicated. So Jesus is calling that out. But the time is coming. Indeed, it is here now, when true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and of truth. The Father is looking for those who will worship him that way. For God is spirit. And for those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth. So Jesus doesn't go and try to defend the Jewish position that Jerusalem is a proper place. He doesn't try to say, you know what, you're right. There's issues with your mountain and our mountain. He calls out and says, you know what? There's going to be a point where it no longer matters where you worship. It's about who you're worshiping, God. For he is spirit. And when we take time to worship him, share his word, his truth, we are worshiping. And the woman's response, the woman said, I know the Messiah is coming, the one who is called Christ. When he comes, he will explain everything to us. And Jesus responds to her in verse 26. Then Jesus told her, I am the Messiah. Our little reading devotion today reminds us why when we worship, we do it together. We worship God through Jesus because he is the Messiah, but we do it in any place where we can gather together. And it might be in our homes because, again, now that we're in stay-in-home orders, it's the place where you live. Maybe it's when you're outside on a walk or with some friends, staying 6 feet away from each other. There's a place where you guys can gather together and, again, give honor, devotion to God. The reminder here is, who are we doing this for? For Jesus, the Christ, the Messiah. That's the good news for all of us. So the Lord bless you today. And again, as we're separated from one another, I hope this helps and encourages you through all these things. And know that you are loved and cared for. Again, I am Pastor Rob Bailey from South Lake Church. And the Lord be with you today. And again, make sure to stay connected both with our Facebook group, but also with our Instagram and our website. You guys have a wonderful day. God bless. Thank you so much for taking time to experience a message here at South Lake. If you have time, make sure to subscribe right over here, but also check out other videos that are down right over here. Again, the Lord bless you this week, and thank you for checking out South Lake Church, where we
engage, grow, and share.